As you put some distance between yourself and the end of the season, you're able to look back, not at the disappointing way that the season ended when you don't win a championship, but in the highlights that happen every season. And for the Toronto Marlies, they started early. First up, first game, Andrew Nielsen comes up with the first goal for the Toronto Marlies. And who does it come from? But a couple of guys with some high expectations, Brendan Leipsic and Kasperi Kapanen. Leipsic would start on a tear with 4 points in that first game. And of course, Andreas Johnsson, also a terrific game as he comes up with 2 goals to start the season. The Marlies would start the season 8-2. After the regular season started 8-2, including a convincing win on the road, a shutout of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, a team that would go on to win the President's Trophy, the Marlies began a slide. It was reminiscent of that start a couple of years ago when they only had 5 wins by December 2nd. The Marlies would run into some tough times. That would see the team on January 14th in last place in the North Division when they played a Rochester team that was depleted by call-ups and injury, and they lost. Sure, Leipsic was still on a tear with a goal and an assist and continuing to threaten the league scoring title. But Kasperi Kapanen, who was having a tremendous season, had been knocked down with an injury a game earlier in Syracuse. You can look at that Hartford game that the Toronto Marlies played. Brett Finley with a hat trick in that one. Garrett Sparks starts to play well, and Seth Griffith is added to the team. Well, and that's where it started to change. As the Toronto Marlies picked up that win in Hartford, they went on a great run for their boat show road trip, only losing 1 in the process. Seth Griffith is a connecting point for Byron Froese that just has success after success, night after night. But it is Garrett Sparks in goal as he continues to turn aside pucks and put the Marlies in a position where they can win hockey games. Well, the Marlies worked their way out of last place and into first place, largely without Kasperi Kapanen, without Brendan Leipsic, and without Byron Froese, who'd been traded to the Syracuse Crunch. Now, that was a big week for the Marlies as well. They played the Crunch 3 times in 1 week. They needed to win 2 out of 3, and they did better than that. Certainly, they played that first game. Garrett Sparks, spectacular, a shutout at Ricoh Coliseum. They go into the unfriendly confines. Certainly the Marlies would find that out later in the playoffs. They win 2 in shootout. This gives the Marlies a ton of confidence heading down to the playoffs. The Marlies move on to the last highlight of the year, and that is they make the playoffs. Out of last into almost first, just a point shy. They would not earn home ice. That would prove to be a big difference. But they get into the playoffs. In the first game, Garrett Sparks knocked out for the rest of the playoffs. Casimir Kaskisuo comes in and is solid for the Marlies as they win that first round against the Albany Devils. They jump into the second round against the Syracuse Crunch, take it to 7 games, and losing in that 7th game, as I say, home ice, a huge advantage for the Syracuse Crunch in that series as they would win all of the ones they needed to at home. The Marlies would win all theirs at home, that only one being the deciding game. Well, as the highlights fade from last season, you begin to think about next season. Anticipation starts to build, and you can get your first taste of what the Leafs and the Marlies hope to accomplish in this next and upcoming season, September 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Ricoh Coliseum as the rookie tournament comes to Toronto. 416-597-PUCK or marlies.ca, a good place to start there. September 25th, it looks like that's when training camp will begin for the Toronto Marlies, and we'll be back with you then. I'm Todd Crocker. You can always catch up with the Toronto Marlies on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and myself as well at Hockey Croc.